An August Saturday in St. Louis means warm, cold beer, and St. Louis Cardinals baseball at Busch Stadium. Weekend series, Marlins and Cardinals. Cardinals winners Hey, Marcell Ozuna's back. Nice to have him back. Everybody happy to see him. And Ozuna in the lineup tonight. Cardinal fans scrambling for souvenirs. And Brad Hand says, nice to have you in center field. Hi, everybody. Rich Waltz along with Tommy Hutton. The Cardinals have the best record in baseball. And Tommy, even though they didn't hit it all over the place last night, they showed why. They were impressive in a 3-1 win.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you see this Cardinal team, you see a complete team. We saw a lot of that last night.
We'll see Marcell Ozuna in there today. Now, it comes with some bad news. Ozuna called up. Christian Yelich going on the disabled list. It's retroactive back to the 10th.
You know, you go back to last Sunday. It'll be a week. So you put Christian Yelich on the disabled list. Then he'll be ready, and he'll be ready to go when he's coming off in another 7 days. To make the roster move, Marcell Ozuna back. You'll love what he did to go down to AAA. He did what he had to do in over 30 games. He hit the ball well, and he drove the ball well. 5 home runs. He had double figures in doubles. His OPS, look at that, in the 900s. He took a good attitude down there, and he has brought a good attitude back here, and his bat's going to be real important in this lineup. However, he's got to overcome what he had done when he was last here. He was 1 for his last 36 here.
I'll take that good attitude a step further and apply it to Brad Hand, who starts tonight. He went 2 months, made 11 appearances, and pitched about 11 innings before being asked to go back into the rotation. And what he's done in his last 2 starts has been dynamite.
He has been tremendous. He worked out of the bullpen. Now he's in the rotation. In Atlanta, how about 7 innings? How about giving up just 2 hits and 1 run, picking up the win? And he threw the ball really well. It all starts with his fastball. He works off that. He can elevate it. He can go in and out. And then he throws a nice breaking ball. And remember, in that game, a couple of beautiful bunts by Brad Hand that produced runs. You saw him make a nice defensive play as well.
His opponent is a guy that's been in the game a long time. John Lackey. The last time the Marlins saw him seems like generations ago. 05.
2005, he was with the Angels. It was quite a different look that Lackey saw. How about the Marlins lineup that day that he pitched against them? Juan Pierre, Castillo, Miguel. How about Carlos Delgado, Mikey Lowell, LaDuca, Jeff Conine in that lineup? It's been a while. And by the way, the Marlins are the only team John Lackey's never beaten.
That's pretty interesting. The Marlins like to keep it that way. It's John Lackey and Brad Hand. It's Miami and the Cardinals up from New Orleans. Marcell Ozuna will talk about his experience and his trip back to the big leagues. We'll hear from him next. getting ready to start. Let's go down to the field. Craig Minervini and Carl Pavano. Gentlemen.
Thank you very much, Rich. As you look at Marcell Ozuna called up and right back in the lineup, he'll bat fifth for Miami. They need him to perform like the Marcell Ozuna we saw last year, knock 23 homers and rip 85 RBIs in as well.
He will. He will. He just has to get over this little shell shock that, things didn't go the way he planned. Well, this is baseball. Baseball is a way of weeding things out, weeding guys that don't belong, weeding guys that do belong, and he's going to figure this out. But he's just got to come here, be a good team guy, and just go after it. I mean, this is his job.
He did well in New Orleans to earn his way back, hit well over 300. I talked with him before the game tonight about that experience, that sprained wrist that he bothered about a week ago, and being back here with Miami.
It's experience. You get it from the beginning. Now you have to start over, do everything what you can do, and help the team most you can.
How to go in New Orleans? How would you describe just getting back there and being hitting over? Obviously, you got your game back a little bit.
Yeah, getting back and doing my team, my work. Like then tell me you're going down for work and you get your feeling back and you come back.
How's your feeling, the wrist, and what happened? Do you think it would have been up a few days earlier?
Yeah, I got a base hit, and then the next hitter hit a fly ball gap, and I tagging from first to second. When I diving, I planning my race, and when I jump, getting a little sprain. Mm-hmm. Then her going to X-ray, and I can grab it back, and I tell the trainer send me to the hospital, made an MRI, and let's see what happened.
Mm-hmm. But were you worried it was going to be worse?
I thought it's gonna be worse. I thought it's gonna be open, wrist open, but nothing on it. Couple of days, and now tape on it.
Well, we were there when he got the chance to say hello to all his teammates again today. Many of them had not seen him till he came into the clubhouse. Big hugs as he's with Ichiro. And I know he feels good to be back with his teammates.
There's no better feeling than, look at this. He's going to play in a stadium right now with 42,000 people tonight against a former all-star, a guy that's won the World Series. It doesn't get much better than that. This is where you want to be, but there's going to be adversity and there's going to be things that you're going to have to tackle to have a long career, and he's just starting his journey right now.
He's upset about going down there. He worked his way back. He's got to take that anger out on the other team, right?
There's no doubt about it. You got to have that passion for the game, and it's good to play with a chip on your shoulder, but not against the people that are on your team, the other team. Take it in between the lines. That's the best place to really handle it.
Number 5 in the lineup in this ball game for Miami. Good to have Marcell Ozuna back. Give him a little punch. Yelich, unfortunately, goes on the DL, but it'll be about a week or so before he can return with that bone bruise in the knee. So game 2 from St. Louis is coming up. Cardinals won 3-1 last night. We'll see what is in store in this Lackey hand matchup next.
みたいなもので、最初に目にしたものを一番好きになるというようなことだと思います。一番最初に目にしたものが野球で、それを今まで続けてきたという感覚ですね。グラウンドに立った時というよりも、新しいグラブが来たり新しいバットが来たりする時にこうやって匂いを嗅ぐこと、匂いを嗅いでグラブの匂いが大好きで、その匂いを嗅ぐともう野球がやりたくなるっていうのはもう子供の時から今もそれは変わらないことですね。
Florida is brought to you by Toyota. Let's go places. By Vico Painting Contractors. For top quality work and excellent customer satisfaction, visit VicoPainting.com. And by AutoNation. Save on over 70,000 vehicles now. Visit us online at AutoNation.com. Warm Saturday night in St. Louis. Yes, Ichiro is in the lineup after a base hit last night. The Marlins trying to beat the Cardinals, something that has not been easy to do for anybody, not just in Major League Baseball, but especially in this building. The Cardinals are 43-17 at home. Miami's lineup is brought to you by JM Lexus. D. Gordon in the leadoff spot. Ichiro up in the 2 position. Martin Prado's at third base. Justin Bour hits cleanup. Marcelo Zuna's back, and he's hitting 5th. Cole Gillespie is on a real nice run right now. 2 hits last night. JT Realmuto behind the plate, and Adeiny Echeverria at short. Brad Hand is in the 9 spot. Ichiro's hit last night, tying him with Ty Cobb. Just a line drive to left. So he's done it, I want to say 1,000,000 times, but
I'll bet at least 1,500.
And for Ichiro, his numbers added up from Japan and from Major League Baseball. Now, Ichiro's not a guy that says, well, these numbers should equal what Ty Cobb has accomplished. He's always been very reverential when talking about a Pete Rose or a Cobb or a Root. But for Ichiro, remember, this is his 15th year in Major League Baseball. He's just 87 hits away from 3,000, and this is just his 15th year.
I think he feels the way he does about the past and the history of the game because he has so much knowledge of the game. He respects the game. As we've talked about, he's made many visits to the Hall of Fame. I'm sure he has seen the Ty Cobb plaque in Cooperstown, and so he just continues to go about his work. He's the most well-prepared player that I think I've ever seen on a day-to-day basis.
And he knows a little thing or two about John Lackey, a guy that he saw an awful lot in those Seattle-Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim matchups.
Yeah, veteran right-hander, 36 years old. We talked about Lackey, the fact that he's only faced the Marlins one time, but forget about it. That was back in 2005. A whole different lineup. He was with the Angels at the time. But here's a guy who certainly is a workhorse. His last 11 starts, he's gone 6 or more innings. He's trying to pick up his 10th win. And you talk about a guy who you want to have on your side in a big game. He's won the final game of the World Series for 2 different teams. Once for the Angels, once for the Red Sox.
And that win as a Red Sox was against the Cardinals. BMW brings you St. Louis's defense.
And there it is with Stephen Piscotty, Randall Grichuk, and Jason Hayward in that outfield. Hayward with a couple of gold gloves. Matt Carpenter, Peralta, Wong, Reynolds around the infield. 7 gold gloves behind the plate in Yadier Molina.
But the Marlins learned anything last night in facing the St. Louis Cardinals, and this is no secret. You've seen it throughout the years, throughout many generations. You cannot make little mistakes, especially against this ball club. It is a club that executes. It's without their 2 biggest bats in Matt Holliday and Matt Adams, but that hasn't slowed them down from Major League Baseball's best record.
Dan Jennings talked about that to you and I in his office today. He knows the Cardinals are a team they're not going to beat themselves.
T. Gordon is in the box. John Lackey is on the mound. And this ball game is ready to go. Lots of sunshine out in center and right as Lackey delivers the first pitch. Fastball for a strike. It's brought to you by Pinch a Penny. Tony Randazzo, Phil Cuzzi, Jerry Davis, and Will Little, your umpires. Randazzo is behind home plate. Gordon swings and pops one back and out of play, and that's John Lackey. Comes right after you, very aggressive.
Yeah, if Lackey is on his game, he'll throw a lot of first pitch strikes.
Gordon swings, and you can see Hayward battling the sun, and he finds it and makes the catch.
Well, that could have been interesting. Talked about Hayward with a couple of gold gloves. Man, he's battling a few things out there. He knows it, too. It's an hour earlier start here in the Central Time Zone, so much more sun out there in right field than we saw last night at the start of the game.
Well, after a few more seasons in right, Jason Hayward will be used to it here because this ball club has played so many postseason games at so many different start times. Here now is Ichiro. Martin Prado to follow. Now Ichiro against Lackey only has 115 at bats against him, and he drills one into right field. That's a base hit. Hayward up with it. Ichiro holds first base. 35 for 116 is Ichiro. That's pushing 300. And listen to the fans here in St. Louis. They're so knowledgeable, so appreciative.
Well, and now they know, because last night he tied that Ty Cobb record. Now the fans here in St. Louis realize he's gone beyond it. That is a St. Louis crowd. Very nice.
Martin Prado now with Ichiro at first. You saw the note at the outset of the telecast that the last time Miami faced Lackey was 2005. Prado, as long as he's been in the major leagues, does not have an at-bat against him, which is amazing because of Prado's games elsewhere other than Miami. The ball and a strike. Prado 1 for 4 last night. Up the middle into center field. That's a base hit. Ichiro around second. Randall Grichuk picks it up. And Miami with 2 base hits with 1 out as runners at first and second.
The Marlins are doing what you want to see a ball club do against a pitcher who's in the strike zone a lot, especially early in the count. You have to try to be aggressive, maybe get him to change his game plan a little bit.
14 runs in first innings. 23 times he has started. Bohr goes after the first pitch. Slow chopper there. The tag not good. He's out of the line. It's going to be a double play. Prado right now arguing with the second base umpire, Jerry Davis. But Davis was emphatic in saying that he went 3 feet out of his determined baseline. And so that, it's not a reviewable play. That is a double play. Scoreless, Marlins and Cardinals. Our team Prado still not happy. He and Jose Oquendo talking about that last play. Cardinals lineup looks this way. It's brought to you by JM Lexus. Matt Carpenter, 2 hits and a homer last night. Randall Grichuk. Boy, has he been a welcome addition here in St. Louis. Johnny Peralta at short. Jason Hayward in right. Yadier Molina hits 5th. Steven Piscotty, a really good-looking and effective rookie for the Cardinals. Colton Wong at 2nd. Mark Reynolds manning first base. And John Lackey hits 9th.
Yeah, notice against the left-hander, Grichuk moves up in the lineup. And for just the 2nd time in his career, Brad Hand will face the St. Louis Cardinals. The only other time was the 3rd of an inning.
Here is Matt Carpenter. How do you pitch to Matt Carpenter? That is a question that National League pitchers have been asking themselves the last 3 years. Dangerous hitter, high on base, sees a ton of pitches. He does everything you would like a leadoff hitter to do, except maybe steal a ton of bases. But he's grinding out at bats, jacking up pitch counts, and now he's hitting home runs.
The other thing he's always done consistently, he's about a 280 hitter against lefties. So he hangs in there against lefties. Now, one of the things, you and I had a nice conversation with John Mabry, the hitting instructor with the Cardinals. And he said Carpenter's made a couple of adjustments to help the power. And one of them is he's really worked on getting himself in that hitter's count.
One of the really good people in the game and one of the really nice guys and a great hitting coach, John Mabry. Carpenter takes a strike. And the count is 3-2. Mitch Smith is our baseball historian, and he points out Carpenter, the first player this season with a bunt, hit, RBI, and a home run in the same game. Brad Hand. And a nice job by Brad Hand. Good start for Hand. He strikes out Carpenter. Here's Miami's defense.
All right, let's focus on the defense, but how about let's zeroing in on the center fielder, Marcell Ozuna. Welcome back, Ozo. Gillespie goes into left. He can play all 3. Ichiro in right. Prado, Echeverria, D. Gordon, Justin Bour, and Real Muto. The Marlins with their 56 errors this year. That's the fewest through 150 games in club history. They have played solid defensively all year.
And especially up the middle with D. Gordon and Adeiny Echeverria, and they sparkled last night. Grichuk 2 for 3, a double. You see the way he sets the bat almost parallel to the ground. He's an aggressive hitter, and he fouls it up into the seats. Every now and then in his myriad of batting stances, Cal Ripken would have the bat laying flat like this. Deep left field, Gillespie back and way gone. It didn't quite get to Ballpark Village, but it was close. He is immensely strong and not real big.
Yeah, it didn't quite get to Ballpark Village, but it had a reservation. He is a strong guy. You and I talked about that last night. Growing up, he was a fan of Jeff Bagwell and Craig Biggio. Bagwell hit a few of those just like that.
And so the Cardinals, with a bang, are on top and on the board. Peralta pulls one wide of third.
Boy, he can get to that ball quickly with that setup. He took it into Big Mac land.
Ball and a strike to Johnny Peralta, Cardinals shortstop. Last night it was Matt Carpenter who homered, and that was in the 8th inning. Marlins got a really nice start from Tom Kohler last night. 7 innings. Kohler gave up just 2 runs. And he continues to pitch well on the road, which was a hurdle that Kohler has not only gotten over but blown by. In his last 6 road starts, his ERA is just barely over 2. Hand trying to follow up his nice start in Atlanta here tonight. There's Kohler's line from last night. Peralta has a hit.
Well, Johnny Peralta, more hits than any National League shortstop. Number 2 on that list, of course, Danny Echeverria.
Now Hayward, without a hit last night, but having a solid year, his first year as a Cardinal. First 5 seasons with the Atlanta Braves. Of course, a guy that was raised in Georgia, suburban Atlanta, in and around the Cobb County youth baseball program.
Still makes his home there.
Hayward with a swing and a miss.
Now, in contrast, we were talking about Carpenter, who's done so well against lefties. Hayward, in his career, coming into this year, lifetime in the 220s against left-handed pitching.
And when you see him standing at the plate and you see the face guard, you obviously think of Giancarlo Stanton and the face guard that Stanton wears. Hayward wearing that for the last 2 seasons.
Yeah, talked to him and asked him if there was a time he thought about maybe not wearing it. He said, yeah, there was, but it was against Madison Bumgarner, and he threw a couple near his head, and he decided to put it back on.
Been wearing it since late 2013. Good pitch by Hand, and the count is 2-2. The Cardinals, a great record at 74-41, a healthy lead in the Central. A charge by the Cubs has pushed the Pirates, but the Pirates are still 6 away from St. Louis, and the Cubs are 7.5 back. There's your National League Central standings. Cubs are in the South Side, taking on the White Sox tonight. Pirates have a 2-0 lead early in the 2nd against the Mets in New York. Runner goes, swing and a miss. Real Muto's throw almost hit the umpire, and Echeverria makes the catch and the tag. Jerry Davis had to limbo out of the way of that throw, which wasn't that far from the bag. Watch this. Cardinals on top. A 444-foot home run from Randall Grichuk. And the long-awaited arrival of Marcell Ozuna at home plate. Boy, he's been trying to get himself out of this slump for a while. And one swing into right field. He was 1 for his last 36 when the Marlins sent him down. And Ozuna, with that short, compact, powerful stroke, drills it to right. A base hit, a leadoff hit here in the second.
And that right there is one of the things he worked on. Again, aggressive, going after that first pitch. You want to see the Marlins do that a little bit tonight. But Ozuna, 11 or 12 doubles, along with his 5 home runs in AAA. So good job, and I know he feels good about that.
Cole Gillespie now, and Lackey misses away. Gillespie, JT Realmuto also coming up. Last night, Gillespie, 2 more hits. His hit streak has pushed him to a .317 average. You see the slugging percentage as well, 455. In those 6 games, he's got a dozen hits. And he shoots one into right field as well. And Ozuna scampers around second, on his way to third. Hayward, a long throw that's not in time. And just like last night, Gillespie finds a hit to that right side. Miami's in business. And here comes Realmuto.
Similar to his approach and his base hit last night against Trevor Rosenthal that impressed Dan Jennings. Just taking what he gets, pitch away. Hole was open over there with Ozuna the runner, and a good job by Marcell going first to third.
Jennings very complimentary of Gillespie tonight before the ball game, talking about it's a balk and the Marlins have a run. Tony Randazzo from behind home plate stepped out, pulled the mask off, pointed at Lackey and pointed to the plate and said balk. Ozuna scores and Gillespie is in scoring position. No argument from Lackey. Realmuto got jammed, dumps it into right center. Grichuk is there and he makes the catch.
Here's a look at Lackey, veteran. Probably was ready to go and then didn't like the sign, a little twitch, and it was just that caused the balk, and as you said, no argument from John Lackey.
Now Echeverria, and you've got hands on deck. What the Marlins would love to see is Echeverria at first and then Gillespie at third with Hand at the plate. That's that first and third with 1 out, and Hand was in that spot twice his last start and bunted home a run in Atlanta in both of those situations. Going to Echeverria. A bunt hit last night stretched his hit streak to 8 straight. Counts 2 balls and 2 strikes. John Lackey, Cardinal fans knew him quite well before he was a Cardinal in 2013. He pitched in the World Series for the Red Sox against the Cardinals. Well, he bounces that one up there, and were it not for Randazzo's leg, Gillespie would have been at third. That ball caromed back and hit the umpire.
Yeah, it was blocked by Molina, came off his chest protector, and then caromed off the home plate umpire.
So the count's full, 3-2. And Echeverria goes out of the zone and swings and misses. So there's 2 outs. On Thursday at Marlins Park, the Phillies are in town. And on the 20th of August, a 7:10 start. Seniors 55 and older can get free tickets on Senior Free Ticket Thursdays, presented by Wellmax Medical Centers. And just visit your local South Florida Subway restaurant. Get a coupon for a $5 ticket. Marlins.com for tickets. The Phillies, who are playing quite well after the All-Star break, are in for 4 starting on Thursday.
Phillies have cooled off a little bit.
Hand gets jammed up and in, and it counts 0-2.
Brad Hand just has to take an attitude with him up there now that he's an RBI machine after his last start.
2 expertly placed bunts in first and third situations really helped his cause in the win in Atlanta. Lackey stays out, and it's 1-2.
There's a look at that scouting report. Early on, a lot of fastballs. He hasn't shown that big curveball. He'll show it once in a while. He'll mainly go fastballs and use that quick slider.
Hand goes down. Lackey gets him out, but the Marlins get a run on a couple of hits and a walk. It's 1-1. Cardinals Hall of Fame out in Ballpark Village. It is a great place to visit, and there are some new Cardinals that arrive in the Hall of Fame. Ted Simmons, Bob Forsch, Curt Flood, George Kissel. There's Curt Flood and the late Bob Forsch. Flood, certainly I don't want to say a revolutionary player, but a guy that really changed the game for the sacrifice that he made in the late 60s, early 70s. You can go behind the scenes on social media with Fox Sports Florida and your favorite Marlins telecasts on Instagram and Twitter at Fox Marlins. Curt Flood won 7 Gold Glove awards in a row, 3 National League All-Star teams, but he refused to accept a trade following the '69 season. And that led to a lawsuit against Major League Baseball challenging the reserve clause, in which clubs used to be able to just roll over contracts and players were stuck in the same city for the same team forever. It essentially took Flood out of baseball. It cost him the rest of his career. So anybody that is making anything in this game as a player has Curt Flood to thank for the sacrifice that he made. That opened the door for the Andy Messersmith and the contracts, the catfish hunters that would come in the early and mid 70s.
I was reading an article. Tony Clark, head of the Players Association, is trying to certainly campaign and make awareness to all the current players and make sure they know the sacrifice that Curt Flood made to benefit where they are right now.
Yadier Molina bounces it to second. Brad Hand has the first out of the second. Stephen Piscotty and Colton Wong coming up. The Cardinals got their run on a mammoth home run by Randall Grichuk. And Miami getting a run on the balk by John Lackey. And here is Piscotty, the Stanford standout, who has blossomed here in the big leagues and has been a nice addition in the absence of a couple big bats in the middle of the lineup. He can play a lot of places. He can play your corner infield spots, and he can play in the outfield quite well. He has an outstanding throwing arm. A ball and a strike to Piscotty.
I think it's also, Rich, important for the current players to realize what players before them, along with a Curt Flood, but players who at times in certain years went on strike and missed time.
How many times in your playing career, which stretched how many years? 12, 13 years?
2 times.
You went on strike twice.
One time at the beginning of the year was my very first year, full year in the major leagues in '72, and then 1981.
Here's the 2-2. That's a fair ball, and down the line and into the corner it goes. Gillespie trying to dig it out. Piscotty around second, headed for third. Gillespie has trouble, and the Cardinals are set up with 1 out, and Stephen Piscotty at third base.
We have seen Cole Gillespie start games in center and right. This is his first start in left field. This is just a tricky play. Watch him hit that corner and carry him out sharply. He has trouble fielding it as it came to him. He actually played it well. He was in good position. The ball skipped by it. I would imagine a double, and then they'll charge Gillespie with an error.
Colton Wong now, and the infield is back. The Cardinals have a chance to reclaim the lead. Got Mark Reynolds behind him. Wong trying to bring a bunt down the first base line, and it's foul, taking a page out of Matt Carpenter's book, who knocked home a run last night at third base, and the Marlins were back and not expecting a bunt. Carpenter even getting a smile out of that one.
Well, notice Wong down in the lineup. He hit second last night against the left-hander. Mike Matheny has Grichuk moving up and Wong down in this part. That's a good curveball.
And the count is 0-2. And I mean, the danger with a guy like Wong, much like Carpenter, it's perfect out on the black, is in one pitch he may be trying to bunt a hit, and another pitch he's blasting it 400 some feet into the seats. He has that type of power.
Yeah, that's the thing about this Cardinal ball club. You don't think of them as a powerhouse, a home run hitting club, but look at the guys in double figures. 18 for Carpenter, 14 Grichuk, 15 now, 16 Peralta, 9 for Hayward. He's closing in on double figures. 11 for Wong.
Even Mark Reynolds in the 8th spot has 9. On a hop, Bohr has it. The Cardinals get their run and take the lead. Wong gets the RBI, and Piscotty scores. And the error by Gillespie is rather big at this time.
No hesitation at all from Piscotty, the runner at third. He was going on contact all the way. As soon as that ball was hit, and it was hit sharply, he was speeding toward the plate.
Earlier you were talking about Miami's defense and how improved it has been. 57th error of the season. Only 7 of those have been in the outfield.
Pitchers have made a few.
Reynolds pulls it foul.
When you think about it, D. Gordon, with all the opportunities and chances he gets, he's only made 4. Echeverria with just 6, so there's 10 errors between the 2 guys up the middle who get a lot of chances.
Of all the Cardinals, this guy can hit it the farthest. Mark Reynolds. Smacks it in the gap, right center field. It's in there for a hit, and it's by Ichiro. It's going to the wall. Reynolds pulls in with a double. That's the 4th hit. 2 of those hits have been doubles. 1 has been a home run.
You don't see Reynolds a lot of times, and he drilled the ball into right center last night. He's been a real solid pull hitter with all the home runs he's hit, 233 career. That's a solid swing by Mark Reynolds, veteran.
End of the bat, it falls for a hit. Reynolds around third, and he scores. And the Cardinals get an RBI hit from John Lackey.
Well, a guy who spent a lot of time in the American League. Lackey getting just his 4th hit of the season. He's 4 for 42 now. Hit it soft enough. If he hit that ball a little harder, Ichiro was charging. Reynolds doesn't run that well. And they may not have sent it. But because he hit it softly, Jose Oquendo, the third base coach, went ahead and sent Mark Reynolds.
Only the 4th career RBI for Lackey. Hand gets to the bag and gets the out. But the Cardinals get 2 more and lead it 3-1. St. Louis on top 3-1. 3rd inning in St. Louis. This copyrighted telecast presented by the Authority of the Marlins. May not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. Accounts and descriptions of the game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Marlins. Another big crowd here on a Saturday night at 42,000. Not a sellout, but close last night. And you expect another crowd over 40,000 in this downtown ballpark in St. Louis.
What was the note you had last night, Rich? Every home game this year, there has not been a crowd under 40,000.
That's the shot from Ballpark Village, which was on the drawing board when this ballpark opened, and it stayed on the drawing board for some time. This is the inside. This is the Fox Sports Midwest Live. It's the Fox Sports Bar. Look at the size of this place. And the studio up there in the left. Look at the booths are great. You can sit up front. The bar is right below the big screen. There may be more Budweiser consumed there than any pub, ale house in St. Louis. And that's saying something. D. Gordon fouls it off.
To show you how the Marlins have had an aggressive approach against Lackey, and we talked about a lot of first pitch strikes. First time through the lineup, the Marlins swung at the first pitch 5 times.
0-2 is out to Gordon. He lined out to right, and Jason Hayward. Marlins had 2 hits in the first. Didn't get a run. Bohr bounced into a double play. 2 hits in the second. They did get a run when Lackey balked. He tries to pick at the corner, and then by the call, he kind of walked halfway off the mound. That's an ambitious.
Well, that's what he does. He'll be aggressive early, and once he gets ahead, then he'll try to expand the strike zone.
And comes in on Gordon. Last year, he split his time between Boston and St. Louis. He made his 31 starts. 2013, he pitched for the world champs, the Red Sox. That one flipped foul and out of play. And he beat these Cardinals in the postseason. He had never beaten the Cardinals in the regular season. And of all the major league teams, including the teams that he's pitched for, the only team he's not beaten, the Marlins. Reynolds, a backhand, steps on the bag. And we check in with Craig Minervini. Craig?
Rich, a great moment in the first inning when Ichiro passed Ty Cobb for the unofficial hits lead at 41-92, including his hits in Japan. Now, Ichiro told me earlier in the year, we asked if we get an interview, he told me he's shy. He told me in English he actually speaks very well. He does have an interpreter in Alan Turner. But he doesn't like to talk about himself in these situations. He was chasing down Babe Ruth. I asked him about it. He said, when I pass Babe Ruth. And he did comment, and he told us last night he did not want to talk about tying Ty Cobb, but he did say if he passes him, he will. And that was off the glove. That's going to be, we'll see how they score that on that line drive. But he did say he would talk tonight. So we hope to get him on our post-game show tonight. Here's comments on passing unofficially Ty Cobb all-time professional hits, #2 in baseball.
And twice tonight we've seen Ichiro, because he's faced Lackey more than any pitcher he's ever faced, he's gotten real aggressive and tried to pull the ball. I'm guessing base hit on that all the way. 2 for 2 for Ichiro.
He's down to 85 shy of 3,000. There is Prado. Prado was erased on a contentious double play in the first. He was running from first to second. Jerry Davis said he went more than 3 feet out of his base path. Prado didn't agree. But that ended the inning after 2 Marlin hits.
You know what I'm thinking, Rich, with Ichiro getting these hits against the Cardinals. Of course, the Cardinals saw him a lot in spring training. Ichiro had some good games in the spring. I believe threw a couple of runners out, and they were both in Cardinal games. They're probably saying, look at that, 41 years old, and he's still going strong.
This was the play in which Prado was called more than 3 feet out of the baseline. It's really close, but from where he started, that's the base path, the feet.
And there were 2 things you can do as a runner there. You have to make a quick choice. You do what Martin did, try to get out of the way of the tag, or you just run into the second baseman, Colton Wong, try to upend him and make it so he cannot make a throw to first base.
Yeah, you're taught to take the throwing shoulder,
because that'll spin him in the other direction. He won't be able to get a throw off to first base.
Counts 0-2 to Prado.
Don't know if they teach that anymore.
Of course, you can also do, was it Albert Bell that absolutely flattened Fernando Vina?
Fernando Vina, who was actually built pretty good, solid little second baseman.
Yeah, but not, he was no Albert Bell.
He was no match for Albert Bell, no.
That was very effective as well. And Prado's got another hit. Lines it into right field. And so Ichiro and Prado have combined for 4 hits already.
And by the way, this is why this is such a great game. To add what else you could do on that. But then the second baseman has to make a choice. You can stop and not allow him. You can stop, maybe take a couple of steps toward first, go backward. But then he'll just throw to first, and then they'll get you in a rundown.
But you don't want to do, remember, Donovan Solano got mixed up on that play, playing second base. Solano was a lot closer to the bag at second. Remember, he threw to first, and the runner ended up getting to second. So it's a ticklish spot for a second baseman and a runner. Very much a cat and mouse game.
And it isn't always cut and dry what you do if you're the runner.
Or fouls it into the glove of Molina, and Lackey's out in front of him. 0-2. Pirates have stretched their lead at Citi Field, 3-0. Pittsburgh on top of the Mets. This is an anniversary of baseball involving not Citi Field, but Shea Stadium. And Bohr goes down. On August 15th, 1965, and Craig is very much aware of this, the Beatles played Shea Stadium, and it was the biggest rock concert up until that point. Here's Ozuna. Marcell Ozuna knocked one into right field. First pitch he saw, that was in the second, and scored on a balk.
Many screaming teenage girls at that concert.
55,000 fans in attendance. There was actually some doubt that they'd be able to sell it out when the show was first booked. Not a problem. Now there are concerts in a lot of ballparks across the country. In fact, I think Paul McCartney came back and played at Citi Field, tying that loose end up quite nicely 44 years later. There's a strike to Marcell Ozuna. Craig, were you there?
No. Which one? Do you mean at 65? No.
Yeah,
no.
1965.
No, I was not there in 65, nor when he closed it out with Billy Joel, when Billy Joel closed out Shea Stadium.
2 balls and 2 strikes to Ozuna.
Craig just wants to remember Mr. Met. He doesn't want to remember Billy Joel or the Beatles at Shea.
Ozuna strikes out. Lackey works out of trouble, and Miami leads 2. Headed to the bottom of the 3rd in St. Louis. It's 3-1. And the arch. And look at all the World Championship banners as well. Hashtag FL Data Strong. Send your strongest fan photo, and you just might see yourself in an upcoming telecast. It's brought to you by T-Mobile. Or maybe send a fan photo of Randall Grichuk and a 444-foot home run. That was back in the 1st inning. Cardinals in 2 innings have 3 runs and 5 hits. Bouncer to short, and Echeverria has it. On to first, and it's in time.
When a guy's hit a home run off you, actually anybody that steps in to hit, it's always nice to get that one pitch out. But I think even more so because Brad Hand was able to get Grichuk right there. A guy we saw a lot of Grichuk and Piscotty in spring training, sharing the same complex with the Cardinals.
Echeverria diving on his feet. Look at that! Adeiny Echeverria.
Boy, you talk about reactions, range, quickness, and a strong throwing arm. You throw all that together, Echeverria makes another highlight play. Just tremendous.
One of the many statistics that is used to measure defense. Ultimate zone rating, which is UZR, which in the past has not been kind to Echeverria. Marlins have always had Echeverria over towards the middle, and he is not graded out well to his right. And some feel it's not necessarily because he doesn't have range, it's because it's a static grid. If he's playing 4 or 5 steps to his left and doesn't get to a ball to his right that another infielder gets to if he's playing there, he gets downgraded, and that infielder gets upgraded because he's in that zone. The Marlins have moved Echeverria a little more towards the hole this year, and I think his numbers have started to come up and reflect that. But he right now is best in baseball with the highest UZR Andrelton Simmons, J.J. Hardy, Nick Ahmed are behind him. I think it's significant that I mean, you can debate the value of UZR, but it's a category that Echeverria has traditionally not scored high in, and suddenly this year he's popped up as the leader. He's been the leader the last 2 years in that defensive metric that the Bill James folks and Mark Simon of ESPN use with great plays. He's had more great plays grading out at shortstop. That ball's hit well down the line into the corner, and it's foul. That stat is often used in the great plays minus bad plays minus errors, in which Echeverria is usually among the top 2 or 3 shortstops in all of baseball. So I mean, look, there's a lot of ways to measure it. It's nice to have Echeverria moving up the charts in the UZR, but at the same time, it's just a small component in figuring out the value of a guy at short. And there's a lot of other stats that Echeverria is at the top of or in the top 3 of added to that. Into right field, it's a base hit, and Ichiro picks it up. Now's the time to place a deposit on 2016 Marlins season tickets that get you in line for 2017 All-Star Game access at Marlins Park. Place your 2016 Marlins season ticket deposit. Down now, you can join the Fish family today, 1-877-MARLINS, or go to marlins.com/tickets.
The bottom line to all that you said with the Danny Echeverria is that this year I really feel he's getting more notice, but he should even get more.
It's one of the things that Perry Hill asked Echeverria to do in spring training is shift on his own a little more. Ozzie Smith, of course, the gold standard of shortstops. We ran into Ozzie Smith before
and he made a
game.
comment about Echeverria.
That's right. But that's one thing that Perry Hill told us in spring training. He asked Echeverria, I said, hey, I've been moving you around the last couple of years. I want you to take it upon yourself to shift a little more. That ball's clobbered off the bat of Molina. Left field. Gillespie got it at the wall. Yadier Molina flies out to Cole Gillespie, and it's still 3-1. Cardinals a 3-1 advantage here in the fourth. Now the Fish trying to figure out how to get some runs against John Lackey, Cole Gillespie, JT Realmuto, and Adeiny Echeverria.
Nice job of tracking down that ball that Molina hit. Cole Gillespie. Ball had some top spin, was hit well. Molina thought he may have gotten one.
Molina always a quick peek up to make sure the hitter isn't looking in for a sign. A ball and a strike. Gillespie a single to right. He is 3 for 5 in this series. Marlins have hits, 6 of them in 3 innings, but just 1 run. Busted bat. Peralta with time, and he gets the out.
Talking to Perry Hill today, and we always like to talk to him about the other infielders. I was asking him about Johnny Peralta, who we know doesn't have the range, but look how he keeps the glove down. He said, you know what? Yeah, he doesn't have the range of some shortstops, but he has a way of just keeping that glove down, keeps it low all the time. And there was a perfect example.
Realmuto to right. Hayward is there. And Lackey has 2 quick outs here in the fourth. And here is Echeverria, who's had a sparkling 2 nights here in St. Louis.
Boy, there he was tracking down that pop fly in shallow left field. You see him in front of Dietrich. How about in the heel of the glove? He picks this one to the backhand. This was last night. Another stab of a line drive. This was earlier in this one, helping Brad Hand out. A couple of steps on the grass and making the play.
Lifts a fly ball into the corner. Hayward there, and he's up on the padding and out of room.
So Adeiny Echeverria has put on a nice clinic here in St. Louis so far.
This one, Hayward has lined up, and he makes the catch. That's a 6-pitch inning from John Lackey. Cards up 3-1. Visit your South Florida Chevy dealers today. By Checkers, epic meals, epic deals. And by Publix, where shopping is a pleasure. Visit us at Publix.com. St. Louis. The Cardinals on top 3-1. Brad Hand gave up a run in the first on the long home run by Randall Grichuk, and then 2 runs in the second. The bottom of the order got him in the second, including John Lackey with his 4th career RBI. Stephen Piscotty doubled and moved to third on the air by Cole Gillespie in left. That's a fair ball just inside the line, and Piscotty has his second double. Stephen Piscotty, 24-year-old out of Stanford.
I'll tell you what, not a bad pitch by Brad Hand. I think Piscotty hit that ball off the end of the bat. Didn't hit it hard, but just snuck it in fair. And Ichiro has to come over and play off that little part of the fence that juts out.
Well, there are few better in baseball at getting runners over and getting them in. Long was able to get Piscotty in with a ground ball out in the second.
I'm sure Colton Wong is up there. We saw him try to bunt. You know he's trying to move the runner over. And I'm sure he was just told by Mike Matheny, any way you can. Feel comfortable pulling the ball, go ahead. If you want to try to drop down another bunt, go ahead. The only difference here, though, is you're getting toward the end of the lineup.
And so is a better strategy,
I would say, swinging here.
Yeah, I mean, hey, try to drive a ball through the infield. If you happen to hit it to the right side, okay.
Yeah. Because let's say he gets the runner over. Theoretically, you could walk Reynolds, go after Lackey, who most likely is not going to get another base hit and an RBI.
That was a healthy swing. That was, I'm going to knock the daylights out of this baseball.
That was, I'm going to hit my 12th home run. Well, it's been a while. Brad Hand, still just 25, making his 37th career start, his 82nd appearance. And his first major league win was back in July of 2011.
Back to Hand, looks at second, gets the out at first.
Good job by Brad to get that chopper and then make sure the runner at second base is going to stay put.
He had to get to the chopper and then get the out at first. Pirates and Mets. We're talking about the Mets and their lead, a healthy lead in the East over the Nationals. The Mets trailing the Pirates 3-0 right now, and they have just one hit after 5 innings. Charlie Morton has struck out 7 and given up just that one hit.
I'm trying to figure out what the Red Sox did to their bats when they left Miami, headed back to Boston.
Last night was a bloodbath and a wipeout of a game.
They had a 15-1 win last night against Seattle. They had 9 players with 2 or more hits.
They had 21 total last night. So how do they follow it up today?
Today, the Red Sox scored 22 runs on 26 hits against Seattle.
And they did it against some guy named Felix Hernandez. 2 1/3 innings, 12 hits, 10 runs for Felix. Reynolds was it every now and then he'll take that big swing and almost fall back on that back knee.
And one of the most prodigious offensive days was had by Jackie Bradley Jr. He was 5 for 6. He had 3 doubles He hit 2 home runs and he had 7 RBIs.
That one fouled back to the screen. Now Bradley going into last night's ball game, Tom. And we talked about it in Miami when the Marlins saw the Red Sox. Here's a guy who has done it in the minor leagues. He's a terrific outfielder, as he showed. He was hitting 203 going into last night. He had 3 hits last night.
Yeah, he was 3 for 5 last night.
And with his day-to-day, he stretches his average all the way up to 250. Hand misses up.
This is where you have to be careful if you're Brad Hand. You're working to a solid right-handed hitter. First base is open. And, 2-2. You have the luxury, just try to make a perfect pitch. If you don't, you go after Lackey, and he'll probably be bunting.
Reynolds out in front.
It's interesting with Brad Hand as you try to project a career for a player, a pitcher in his case. You look at last year, he was in 32 games, 16 starts. We've seen what David Phelps has done in 3 or 4 years in the big leagues. Usually that same breakdown.
Got him. Good running fastball, too. And that strikes out Reynolds. The importance of that strikeout is if he gets Lackey, he doesn't have to face Carpenter with a runner in scoring position.
Well, the bottom line, he had the luxury of trying to make a perfect pitch, and he did. Perfect pitch to strike out Reynolds. Great location. So the bottom line with Brad Hand, he can have a long career. It really, and obviously he wants to start every 5 days. And you should think that way. But if it's not going to happen, you have to be the type of pitcher.
Lackey again to right. Ichiro has it. And his throw to the plate on a hop is perfect. My goodness.
Remember the last time he didn't hit it hard enough. That's why he picked up the RBI. Now he's talking like a hitter. He hit that one hard. And because he hit it so hard, Ichiro was right there, and Piscotty couldn't score.
So Lackey is 2 for 2 tonight. And now Hand does have to face Carpenter.
So you can go a couple of ways with the career of Brad Hand. You can either be a starter, and a lot of it depends on you, and work every 5 days, or you can have a nice career doing a little bit of both, being that left-hander out of the bullpen, and then maybe getting 12 to 16 starts a season. Because rarely does a team go through a season and use just 5 starters.
Carpenter has struck out, bounced out.
Well, the Cardinals have had at least 2 base runners 3 of the 4 innings. They had 1 base runner in the 3rd inning. So Brad Hand's had to work.
Pitch is up. South Florida Honda dealers, get you ready for tomorrow, a 1:30 start for Marlins Live. Steve Cishek, we had a chance to talk to him today, and we'll get a chance to catch up with the former Marlin and a hometown start for David Phelps. Counts 2-1. At the corners. Carpenter against lefties this year, right around 250. 280 against righties. D. Gordon elevates and makes a run-saving catch.
Just file that one for the defensive highlights.
Boy, the middle infielders for the Marlins in this series have been sparkling. Echeverria and D. Gordon have been putting on a show. Learn more. Just log in. Marlins.com/fishfamily. St. Louis is your code tonight. D. Gordon getting ready to lead it off. Big day for the Miami Marlins RBI program. They won the Senior Division Championship of the 2015 Reviving Baseball in the Inner Cities World Series. Their 4th overall RBI World Series championship and their first in the Senior Division since 2004. Last year they won the Junior Division Championship. How about that? They beat Harrisburg 5-4, and that was at Globe Life Park in Arlington. Yeah, that's the ballpark in Arlington. They got the all-star caps on. It's a great moment.
They're becoming a dynasty. Congrats to those kids. Just tremendous.
Miami shortstop Brian Lavastida was named MVP of the division championship game. Had a couple hits, stole a base, scored a run, the decisive run. Hit .450 during the tournament in 6 games. Drove in 6, scored 7 runs. Brad Hand Facing John Lackey, D. Gordon, Ichiro in the 5th. And Brad Hand cranks one to left. A diving catch there. Piscotty. There was a lot of sod flying up behind him, but he got the glove underneath. And he captured it before it got to the turf.
Well, there's been a lot of Piscotty tonight. 2 doubles on the other side and a terrific catch there for a guy who you pointed out earlier. He can play the corners in the infield, a little bit in the outfield.
Gordon goes after the first pitch, busts his bat, and bounces it to Reynolds.
Here's an interesting situation. You've got Ichiro coming up, who obviously picks up Lackey really well, 2 for 2 tonight. But there have been 2 quick outs. This would be a time, if there had not been 2 quick outs, you'd see Ichiro go right after that first pitch. Don't know if he will here.
This is only his 118th at bat against Lackey.
That's incredible.
He's got 36 hits, 36 for 117.
And he gives him a curveball at first pitch.
Because Lackey knows that Ichiro knows he shouldn't swing, so if Lackey gives him a fastball, he would swing.
Another breaking ball misses. Now Ichiro will be ready for the fastball.
Ichiro a line drive single to right in the 1st. And a line drive off the glove of Mark Reynolds for another hit in the 3rd. 2,915 hits in his major league career. And here comes the fastball. I think he took a little off it.
Yeah, a little off of it, and he kept it away.
Pop up into left. Piscotty makes the catch. 1, 2, 3 go the fish. Halfway through in St. Louis. Cardinals 3-1. It's warm here in St. Louis, but it's nothing like this Geico Marlins moment. The hottest game in Marlins history was here. Remember this, Tommy? The road trips started in Milwaukee. Go to the bottom of the list, and that was one of the games in Milwaukee. The Jedi look out there. Princess Leia, Mike Dunn.
So we had July 5, 6, and 7.
Yes.
Consecutive days.
And here it's 85 degrees. Clear skies. AccuWeather team, the Doppler radar operated today by Carl Pavano, shows some clouds, but another gorgeous day forecast tomorrow.
Always happy to bring you the weather. We check our Doppler every morning.
At the door, Grichuk, Peralta, and Hayward against Brad Hand. And Grichuk behind the count 0-2. He homered up into Big Mac land in the first. St. Louis got 2 runs in the second. Brad Hand has had to navigate his way around 8 hits. He hasn't walked anybody.
This is becoming a good conversation all of a sudden, Rich, the National League Rookie of the Year. And I'm thinking about it with Grichuk up there because all of a sudden with 43 extra base hits, the 21 doubles, the 15 home runs now, he's gotten his name in the conversation. Chris Bryant, obviously. Jock Peterson has kind of faded a little bit the second half. Chris Heston, pitcher with the Giants. Noah Syndergaard.
How about Matt Duffy?
Matt Duffy's on that list. He's in the conversation.
Hand strikes out Grichuk.
And another guy with the Pirates, Jung Ho Gong, is in the conversation with the way he's been playing. The interesting thing about that, in the National League, there are a lot of names. And everybody feels in the American League, hands down, it's the 20-year-old shortstop with Houston, Carlos Correa.
Johnny Peralta now. Tommy, the Gung Show is coming to Miami.
We will see Jung Ho Gung for what, 4-game series.
Yeah, the next homestand's a really interesting one. It's 4-4.
It's the Pennsylvania series.
Yes. The Phillies for 4, the Pirates for 4. Bouncer to third. Prado backhands across the diamond to get the out. Johnny Peralta out number 2. Here comes Jason Hayward. Marlins and Cardinals tomorrow. For David Phelps, a special start tomorrow here in his hometown. It's the second time he will have pitched in this ballpark. The first time and the last time was last year as a Yankee, when he's not building castles of cups. Carlos Martinez is in that rotation, and his tower yesterday was a little higher but not as wide, and he will start for St. Louis. There was a huge investigation conducted by Martinez as to who knocked over his tower of power yesterday. He had a lot of suspects, right? That was one of the prime suspects.
Yeah, we don't think it was John Jay.
No, I think he was cleared.
Yeah,
cleared in
Miami guy. He was okay.
Post-game press conference. 1-1 pitch misses in. Hand. Well, they count 2-1. You talked earlier, in case you missed it, about Jason Hayward's face guard, and that was a similar pitch from Madison Bumgarner that caused him to rethink going without the face guard.
He actually said he still has some feelings in his jaw area, and that's been, what, 2 years, 3 years?
Oh, wait till he's 60 and it rains. I mean, look, you played the big leagues for a long time. There's got to be days where stuff hurts on you, right?
Yeah, and even on good days.
And
it doesn't have to be cold.
And you're able to say, I think it's going to rain tonight.
So for Jason Hayward, eat all the steak you can right now.
Swing and a miss. He strikes him out. Nice inning for Brad Hand. His first 1-2-3 of the ballgame. of cups that Carlos Martinez was constructing was a great topic of conversation. He's defending it from the rest of the starting rotation. Adam Wainwright, Michael Wacha, and there was the mysterious bottle that came in from outside. He thought it was John Jay. He attacked him with seeds. No, it's not me, Wacha says. And so the rest of the pitchers, I think, feeling sorry, chipped in. Reynolds trying to get it. You know what, Tommy? When you're 74 and 41, building a tower of cups is okay.
It sure is.
If you're 41 and 74, it's not so funny.
That's half the fun of being 74 and 41.
Martinez will pitch tomorrow when this series concludes against St. Louis native David Phelps. How do you put that? What's the term? Is it a St. Louisan?
Is it St. Louian or St. Louisan?
Louisan. St. Louisan. So
I kind of like St. Louian though.
Yes.
I think we went through this in San Diego.
Yes, we knew that it was not San Diegan unless it's Ron Burgundy, I guess. I don't know. Prado, Bohr, Ozuna. That one ends up in the seats. Martín Prado has a couple of hits. The Marlins have 6 hits, and they got him in the first 3 innings. The problem was they bounced into a double play in the first, stranded a runner in the second, and stranded 2 in the third.
Yeah, all of a sudden, Lackey, too, has settled in. He's retired 8 in a row.
One thing about Lackey, he's very demonstrative with umpires, whether it's right after the pitch or even there, keeping the mouth agape. And that's just kind of who he is.
Well, one thing's for sure.
Prado
See, now, maybe because of his demonstrative look, the pitch before got him that pitch there.
That's hard to tell. Let's take a look at Fox Tracks. We'll see the hole at bat here. That's a strike at the knees. Pitch 6 was just out, and that's the one that Lackey wanted. Pitch 7 was on the black and at the knees.
Well, so a little bit. Sometimes that hurts you out there. Sometimes it helps you. In that case, I think it helped Lackey.
Justin Bohr almost gets Phil Cuzzy, first base umpire.
The Cardinals are certainly getting the most for their buck out of John Lackey because of his contract situation.
Yeah, he's only making $500,000.
He's making the minimum.
But there's a wrinkle to that.
Well, the wrinkle was they took over the contract he had with the Red Sox. And in that contract, there was a provision if he missed a season that he would get paid the minimum.
At the end of the contract.
At the end of the contract.
Bohr sends that one into left center field, hits it deep. Piscotty is back, and it's gone. Left center field. Justin Bohr crushes one. And Miami is within a run. For Bohr, it's his 11th.
Boy, that has to feel good for Justin Bohr. It had been 94 at bats since his last home run. His last home run was July 3rd at Wrigley Field. So a good feeling for him, and even better, I think, because he hit it the other way. Fastball, middle of the plate. Super swing by the big guy, and he took it a long way the opposite field.
And for the Marlins, it's their first extra base hit of this series.
So the bottom line, Lackey agreed to that contract situation.
Bouncer in the hole. Peralta across the diamond in time to get Ozuna. Well, don't feel sorry for him. He's only made $108 million in his career.
So he'll be a free agent after this year. It'll be interesting to see what St. Louis does. He's won 161 career games. Big game pitcher.
Now he's 36. And he's, you know, aside from a year of injury, other than that, he's made a lot of starts. Taking the ball for the Angels, for the Red Sox, now the Cardinals. 2 world championships with the Angels in 2002. That's when he burst on the scene and had some big games in the postseason. And then pitched for the Red Sox in the postseason in 2013. In fact, beat the Cardinals in the World Series. Was 1-1 in that World Series.
Well, he didn't pitch in 2012, and that was because of Tommy John surgery that he had in 2011.
Another ground ball. Peralta loads up, gets the out. Justin Bour homers, and Miami is within a run. 3-2 St. Louis. In St. Louis, and a 3-2 Cardinal lead. Fish family members, renew your season tickets today. Chance to win a trip to the All-Star Game at San Diego next year. Other incredible prizes and experiences. 1-877-MARLINS, Marlins.com, or an upcoming home game is where you can renew your season tickets. I think someone in the crowd in left field threw back the Justin Bour home run. And that's why the game was delayed a bit. The crowd was reacting. Now, were they cheering, Tommy, or are they cheering because they're bringing the fan out of it?
Yeah, they don't boo too much here in St. Louis. That could be dangerous. I think I read the other day where, was it Mark Gardner? I think in left field for the Yankees was hit by a ball that was thrown back on the field from someone in the stands.
Brett Gardner.
Mark Gardner.
I was thinking Giants bullpen coach.
Yeah, Brett Gardner.
They had some arm if they in New York they were able to hit Mark Gardner in San Francisco.
That's right.
That one popped up. Real Muto to the screen, and it's just over the screen.
Here's a way, by the way, Rich, to describe the job that Brad Hand's done tonight. I think he's managed this game really well, and that's something that all pitchers learn to do with experience. And you know, he gave up the run in the first inning, the 2 runs in the second, but since that time he's been able to work around some base hits. He's managed this game really well.
Molina into left field. That's a hit. So Yadier Molina singles to left. Leadoff man aboard for the Cardinals. Stephen Piscotty, who has a couple of doubles, comes up. Fan Express, great way to come to the ballpark. And all you got to do is call 305-480-2523. Your group, your family, your block, your office, whoever you got, if you want to come to the ballpark, it's a great way to do it. You don't have to worry about parking. You don't have to worry about driving home at night.
Or like Rich and me, it's our posse.
And I think, I mean, my guess is you could have quite a party on the way down in the Fan Express bus. And I don't think you even need to put a cleaning deposit down.
It's very organized on the bus.
Yes, it is. It might work. Isn't college night coming up on the upcoming homestand? Would that be good for college night?
I don't know if it'd be good.
That one's going to find left field. Piscotty and Molina go back-to-back with singles. And that sets up for Colton Wong and Mark Reynolds now.
Boy, what a night Stephen Piscotty has had. That's his third base hit. He actually came into the game 0 for 8. 0 for his last 8, but 3 for 3 tonight.
Cardinals, as Chuck Hernandez is on his way out. The Cardinals have a 6-game lead, but you know fans here in St. Louis are still keeping an eye on the Pirates, who had a 3-0 lead against the Mets. That's disappeared. The Mets have tied at 3-3 in the bottom of the 7th. Bearclaw in the bullpen for Miami.
Well, you know, a big hit, a home run, driving in 2 for the Mets. Michael Conforto. So they're getting some nice production out of Conforto. Cespedes has a couple of hits in that game.
Right behind the Pirates are the Cubs, and the Cubs lead the White Sox 2-1. The Mets lead in the East 4.5 games. The Nationals have dropped 4 in a row and are out in San Francisco again tonight. Do you realize the Washington Nationals are just 1 game over 500 right now at 58 and 57?
But as Jason Worth said, they're the team to beat. I don't think the Mets took that too kindly.
Here is Colton Wong. Wong swings and misses. And I think, Tommy, that adds a bit to the disappointment of the Marlins season, is that the division this year was supposed to be Washington runs away and maybe Miami or New York stumbles into a wild card spot. As it turns out, it's the Mets right now who have a 4.5 game lead over the Nationals. Wong turns and fouls it.
Well, it's spring training prognostications. It's amazing what can happen, and we've seen it firsthand. What can happen over a long season? And look at that! Right now, the Mets with a 4.5 game lead over Washington.
Oh, 2. Wong lifts it in the air. Shallow right. Gordon's out. Ichiro rushes on, calls him off, and makes the catch.
We'll see if Brad Hand pitches to Reynolds.
Miami's pen, Kyle Bearclaw, is ready. And the Cardinals, when they see him, will know him quite well. He's from the Cardinals organization. He came in the Steve Cishek trade. And so Hand is going to pitch to Reynolds.
So the question you ask yourself is, why do you heat up Bearclaw if you're not going to bring him in to pitch to Reynolds? That's the question.
Yeah, because you got John Lackey on deck. And so you would think
he might get pinch hit for. Cardinals have a little work in their bullpen too. And the Cardinals have one left-handed bat, veteran Brandon Moss, on their bench.
And you remember the other thing to think about with Hand here. He's at 89 pitches, but he went 2 months and made 11 appearances and threw 12 innings, and then jumped back into the moving vehicle, which was the rotation. So he's just now getting stretched out. That pitch is away.
And this is also a game where just about every inning, I don't know if the stress level has been extremely high, but he's had to deal with men on base. Every inning except the fifth inning.
Without a doubt. He's navigated his way in and around extra base hits. Cardinals have 10 hits and just 3 runs. Reynolds to center field. Ozuna back. It is deep and it is gone.
I think we made the point.
Bearclaw was ready. The Marlins stayed with Hand against a right-handed power bat, and Reynolds blisters one out of here. A 3-0 pitch, and the game is suddenly 6-2. And here's Lackey.
Got a guy who has 233. Now he has 234 career home runs. And you had a right-hander ready in the bullpen. And that's not second guessing. It was first guessing because we talked about it before it happened.
Lackey to Gordon for the second out. So a 3-run homer and a 6-2 lead for St. Louis. And Reynolds now in double figures in home runs.
There's another guy that joins that double figures group that we were talking about earlier.
They don't have Adams. They don't have Holiday. But what they do have is depth in their lineup and guys in the 6, 7, 8 spots. Look at Adams. That can hurt you. They can hit the ball out of the ballpark. They can execute. They can move runners, drive them in. Even at the top of the order, they've got a guy like Carpenter who chews up pitches and still has hit 18 home runs.
5 guys in their lineup with double figures in home runs, and Jason Hayward has 9, so he's close. Reynolds has been terrific since Adams went on the disabled list.
And now you've got Hand at 97 pitches. He went 91 pitches in the start in Atlanta. He threw 84 in that start against the Mets. To left, Gillespie makes the catch, but the damage done. A 3-run homer by Mark Reynolds. 6-2 St. Louis.
On a bunch of new bases throughout the game. Curt Flood, Bob Forsch, Ted Simmons, and longtime coach George Kissel are inducted as the second class into the Cardinals Hall of Fame just beyond the ballpark here today at the great little village they have here in St. Louis. 3 of these guys are no longer with us. Ted Simmons was there, families representing Kissel, Bob Forsch, and Curt Flood. And there was also, guys, an interesting letter from one of the fans today on behalf of Ted Simmons into the Baseball Hall of Fame candidacy. He's not in the Hall of Fame. 2,472 hits for Simmons, who did play a little bit outside of catcher as well, a little first base outfield, but his hits and doubles are the most of any catcher in the Hall of Fame. He had almost 1,400 RBIs, higher than all but Yogi Berra, and he walked more times than he struck out, almost 860 walks and less than 700 strikeouts, a 285 hitter. He was a good hitter with that wild hair that always was flapping behind his helmet, guys.
Well, Craig, it's a really impressive list. You go through the Cardinal Hall of Fame members who are in there right now. Even the guys that are on the red ribbon, they call it, not blue, red ribbon selection panel. In the Hall of Fame, you've got Lou Brock, Augie Busch, Dizzy Dean. Jim Edmonds is in there, Frankie Frisch, Bob Gibson, Whitey Herzog, Rogers Hornsby, Tony La Russa. JT Realmuto on the ground at third.
We were commenting on the way over here, because of this history here in St. Louis, and a great history it is. There are so many, not only Cooperstown Hall of Famers, but Cardinal Hall of Famers, that you see around the stands so many different numbers of people wearing jerseys. You see a Bob Forsch, you'll see a Bob Gibson, you'll see an Ozzie Smith.
Echeverria up the middle into center field. So a base hit for Etch, and here comes Derek Dietrich.
So the people have their choice to pick one of many Hall of Famers or Cardinal Hall of Famers. There's a Molina, you see a Musial, they're everywhere.
You can see a Tommy Herr, a Willie McGee.
I'm not sure if you'll see any Ken Reitz jerseys, but you and I chatted with him today.
Well, we saw Ken Reitz. You might see a Jack Clark,
a Mark McGuire,
a Keith Hernandez. Dietrich hits one to right. Hayward is there. And he makes the catch. So Brad Hand's night done. He leaves for the pinch hitter. Hand goes 6, 11 hits, 6 runs. He struck out 5.
And by the way, talking about the numbers of Ted Simmons, there's a terrific argument to put him in Cooperstown. When you stack his numbers up against the catchers that are in the Hall of Fame.
Why do you think he's not in there now?
So much is perception. He was a switch hitter. He was one of the best switch hitters I ever saw from both sides of the plate. Very consistent. Wasn't a great defensive catcher, and that probably hurts him. But man, he could hit line drives.
D. Gordon up and Chavarria at first.
He wasn't the Johnny Bench or the Gary Carter as far as defense.
Gordon at 3-1. And it's out, and Gordon walks. Do you think, as his career gets a little further down the line, that D. Gordon will start to walk more?
You know, it's possible, but you hate to take some of it away from him, because that was one of the issues the Dodgers had with him, that he didn't walk enough, and they kind of put the reins on him, so to speak.
Ichiro takes the strike. A 5-game hit streak now for Ichiro. 2 more hits. He's at 2,915. Coors Light brings you a cold hard fact. 62 players born in Japan. 33% of all the hits in Major League Baseball by Japanese-born players are Ichiro hits. To left, Piscotty towards the line, and in fair territory makes the catch. And Miami is done in the seventh inning stretch. I hear a Budweiser song coming on. Cardinal Hall of Fame, Ballpark Village, right beyond left field. trend. The Cardinals, 647 wins. Cardinals and Yankees, certainly steeped in a lot of history. Two most winningest franchises in terms of World Series titles. 11 for the Cardinal franchise. The first coming back in the 1920s. Mike Matheny has been to the World Series. Lost to Boston and John Lackey, actually, in 2013. In his first year, lost in the National League Championship Series to the Giants. And last year lost to the Giants in the National League Championship Series. That's a team that he finished his career with, winning a couple of Gold Gloves in San Francisco after a nice run here in St. Louis.
It's a situation for Kyle Bearclaw to just kind of keep everything under control, because, all right, this is the organization that traded you away, and you never got a chance to get to the big leagues with the Cardinals, and here you are pitching in St. Louis. And when he gets that breaking ball over, it's really tough, because we've seen the velocity on the fastball.
Steve Cishek watching, and of course Cishek will be a guest on Marlins Live tomorrow. Bearclaw misses in. Big, thick lower half, very strong. And he walks Randal Grichuk. You can connect with the Marlins on Facebook and on Twitter. At Marlins on Twitter. Hashtag it Let's Go Fish. Get a full roster of Marlin players at marlins.com/connect. Johnny Peralta. And Bearclaw right now missing away. Grichuk at first base. Peralta's 1 for 3. The big blows in this one. The Grichuk homer in the first. Lackey's RBI single with 2 outs in the second. And then Mark Reynolds against the tiring Brad Hand, blasting one into center field, a 3-run homer in the 6th. Runner goes, swing and a miss. Real Muto, quick release, and he got him. Nicely done. Boy, Real Muto, as athletic as he is, he really showed it there.
That's the second runner he's thrown out in this game. Just comes up and fires D. Gordon right there with the tag.
And one of the toughest things to do for a catcher is on a swing and miss, make the catch and then come up and throw, because if a hitter takes, you've got a little bit of a head start. You can reach a little further out, deeper towards the plate. But on a swing and miss, you've got to sit back so you don't get clipped by the bat before you rise and fire. With apologies to Gus Johnson. And the count's 3-1. Center field. Ozuna makes a catch. Peralta allowed out to center. So there are 2 outs, and here's Jason Hayward. That Mets-Pirates game is going to the 9th inning in New York, and it's 3-3. The Nationals and the Giants later tonight. 4.5 games. The Mets lead in the East. The Pirates, of course, 6 back of these Cardinals.
That's a good pitch. Hayward was not expecting off speed first pitch.
Last night the Cardinals and the Marlins drew 42,000. It was not a sellout. Tonight is a sellout. 44,706. 30th sellout this season in this baseball mad city that's fouled at the plate. I'd love to find out how much, by whatever measure you want, metric, quart, gallon, keg, how much beer was consumed tonight, and then compare it per person to the series in Milwaukee.
And they continue to draw well, the Brewers. Of course, this is a weekend series. We're in Milwaukee Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Now, I don't think you can count Ballpark Village. Those are not paying tickets to the game. Certainly in close proximity, and lots of Budweiser there. On to first in time. Gordon gets the out. Hayward bounces out. 8th inning arrives. All Cardinals 6-2. There's a look at Ballpark Village and the crowd that's in and around the Fox Sports Midwest live area, that huge bar and entertainment center. John Lackey, 89 pitches. You can hear the Clydesdale theme dancing around Busch Stadium right now. Oh, no Clydesdales in the house tonight. Mike Matheny, David Bell is his bench coach, and they take a look at the lineup card. Lackey going strong. Martin Prado, Justin Bour, and Marcell Ozuna. Sometimes you can look into a bullpen, and if it's a team you haven't seen in a while, you're not sure who it is, but from a long ways away, we knew immediately that was Steve Cishek.
Yeah, we did. It's the way Red Schoendienst used to wear his socks.
I don't know if Lackey was telling Molina to change with his glove. Prado stepped out as a courtesy. That is a pretty good pitch. Remember when Prado was called out in the 6th, all the ruckus that ensued. Let's see where this one was. Well, that's right down the heart of the plate and just right or above the knees. So a break there, the 2-2. In the air. Reynolds comes down and makes the catch. As promised, here you go. Data Strong fan photo of the game. Hashtag it FL Data Strong fan. Bodie. Very nice.
You know, for Lackey, back in 1999, his introduction to professional baseball, he played for a guy who long time managed in rookie ball for the Angels, Tom Kochman.
Oh, it's Casey Kochman's
dad. And one of the things that Tom Kochman said about Lackey back then, boy, is he a competitor. And he hasn't changed.
Justin Bour homered in the 6th. That brought Miami within a run. That was quickly erased on Mark Reynolds' 3-run homer with 2 outs in the 6th.
It's good to see Justin Bour take that ball the other way and break that home run drought as well. Because remember, his last home run, we talked about it July 3rd in Chicago, that was the 4th of 4 home runs in 4 days.
That was against Jason Hamill. Lackey buries the breaking ball. Bour swings and misses.
I'll tell you another thing a win for Lackey will do tonight. It'll give him 10 wins. It'll give him 12 consecutive years. Now you exclude the year he didn't pitch. I'm not counting that one because he didn't pitch. Of 10 or more wins. And he'll also beat the Marlins for the first time in his career in just his 2nd career start.
And that'll give him wins over all 30 teams in Major League Baseball. Ozuna fouls it back. If you're just joining us, Marcell Ozuna is just joining the Marlins. Up from New Orleans. It's kind of a good news, bad news deal. Ozuna is here. Christian Yelich placed on the disabled list, retroactive to the 10th of August with that bruised knee. Yelich is still with the ball club and will remain with the ball club. And if the knee does not feel better in the next couple of days, he'll probably have it re-examined.
And the hope is when the 2-week period is up, which would be just another week, that knee's fine and he's ready to go.
Hey. Ozuna takes up and in. Now Ozuna's last home run, you got to go back almost a full month before Bour's last home run, and that was the 10th of June. That was in Toronto. Ozuna to right. That's deep. Hayward back, and at the track, he makes the catch. Hit it well, but not far enough. 1-2-3 go Miami in the 8th. Kendry Flores takes over for Kyle Bearclaw. Brad Hand went the first 6. Bearclaw the 7th. Flores now making his 5th appearance in the big leagues.
I like the way it's similar to the way the Cardinals have done with some of their young pitchers. We'll see one tomorrow in Carlos Martinez. When he joined the ball club, he worked out of the bullpen a little bit, not as a starter. They did that with Wainwright. And Kendry Flores, most of his time in the minor leagues has been as a starting pitcher. But here he is getting an opportunity, getting used to pitching at the major league level. And you never know what can go from this point on.
Liner to left off the bat of Molina, and it finds grass. Another hit. He leads off the 8th. He's 2 for 4. And the Cardinals with a dozen hits tonight. Checkers presents Marlins Live postgame after the game. Marcell Ozuna's return. Craig Minervini and Carl Pavano from here in St. Louis.
Yeah, that ball wasn't hit all that well by Molina. A little looping liner. But this guy's hit the ball well all night. Piscotty.
Post-game sound from the Marlins clubhouse and from manager Dan Jennings. And good possibility Ichiro will talk tonight with his interpreter Alan Turner. Certainly worth a listen. A couple more hits for Ichiro.
Ichiro appreciated by the Cardinal fans tonight.
Stephen Piscotty 3 for 3, a pair of doubles, 9 doubles now for Piscotty. He has just 77 at bats. And a late swing there. There's one out in the 8th.
Flores has a unique motion and delivery. I would imagine he'd be tough to pick up as a hitter.
What makes it unique and what makes it tough?
His arm angle. It's like he hides the ball really well. He also changes speeds. He has good off-speed pitch. That fastball's upper 80s, kind of over the top. A little Iron Mike-ish. And there's the changeup.
Iron Mike, if you're...
Young kids don't know what the Iron Mike is. I'm glad you're going into that.
It's one of the very first pitching machines, the prototype, so to speak. Colton Wong in the left field. That's a base hit. And the Iron Mike was essentially a steel arm in which the ball rested, and all of a sudden that arm fired and threw straight over the top. That was before the jugs guns, which were the inflated tires that spun and the ball squeezed between the tires, shot out.
And that the tires, you can throw hard sliders and fastballs as well.
And you can tilt the tires at any angle you want.
The Iron Mike you couldn't tilt. It was nothing but fastballs.
What year now when you...
I can remember facing the tires.
In 60s?
70, in the late 70s.
What about
maybe
in
80s.
The 60s? Did you...
No, I was Iron Mike back then.
Just Iron Mike?
Yeah.
Did you call it Iron Mike or Iron Bob? Or...
No, it was Iron Mike. Vero Beach, I can remember Frank Howard. I can remember as a minor leaguer seeing Frank Howard walk toward the iron mic and stand about halfway and crank it up as hard as it would throw. He would stand there and rip line drives.
That's a strike to Mark Reynolds. Reynolds a 3-run homer in the 6th. That's one of the stories about Howard in any batting practice, is that he liked to finish his batting practices by stepping closer to the mound and getting his last few swings way out in front of home plate, almost on that infield grass. Reynolds up the middle, Echeverria a flip, Gordon a turn in time to get the double play. 6-4-3, nicely done. Echeverria and Gordon have been spectacular defensively here these last 2 nights. Honda dealers. And by Kubota, for more information to find a participating dealer, go to FloridaKubotaDealers.com. 6-2 St. Louis. That Mark Reynolds home run in the bottom of the 6th. A big boost for the Cardinals. And on a night where St. Louis so far has 8 innings out of John Lackey, they're trying to coax 3 more outs here in the 9th.
Right now, John Lackey at 105 pitches. He's thrown 1 complete game this year. He's thrown 18 in his career.
Gillespie, Real Muto, Echeverria. And Lackey gets a strike. John Lackey and Brad Hand matched up here. Hand went 6 innings, 11 hits, 6 runs. And of course, the Reynolds home run added 3 at the very end of Hand's stint. Lackey's ERA in his 8 innings has dipped to 2.88. Hayward, 1 out.
Well, Gillespie had to hit his first time up, so that extended his hitting streak to 7 games. And, it just continues the good job he's done since getting the opportunity to play. Had 5 straight multi-hit games.
Real Muto, an 0 for 3. Marlins came into last night's ballgame having won 3 straight. A 3-1 loss last night
JT looking for his first hit in this series after that big game against the Red Sox. Hitless last night and 0 for 3, as you just said, so far tonight.
One and two. Pirates and Mets are now into the 10th, 3-3. Nationals and Giants are 15 minutes away from starting. Phillies are down 3-2 to Milwaukee, bottom 8.
Cubs trying to put away the White Sox for the second straight night.
Tough to make up ground on these Cardinals, who are a couple outs away from win number 75. Realmuto. And there's his first hit since that big night against Boston.
That's good. Good to see.
You can hear the crowd murmuring, almost saying, come on.
Yeah, I think Matheny's his plan was if Lackey can get a 1-2-3 inning, he'll give him a chance for the complete game. But if not, he'll take him out.
But the Moans will quickly turn to cheers if he does take him out. And he points the pen. Let's listen. West Kendall Toyota called to the pen. And now some intrigue for the Marlins, because here is Steve Cishek.
Those are the overall numbers for Cishek, but he's done a nice job in his 7 games as a Cardinal. There are the numbers with St. Louis, giving up just 1 run in those 7 games, an ERA a little over 1. He's been used in situations kind of like this. 7th inning, 8th inning, a lead in the 9th inning. Not a save situation.
Echeverria turning back towards the Marlins dugout after backing out of the way. That Cishek delivery. Never a comfortable at bat, especially when you see him for the first time.
And especially if you're a right-handed hitter.
Etch stays in, drives it right field. Hayward has the catch. Realmuto retreats to first.
Boy, but Edge did just what you need to do as a right-handed hitter against Cishek. Stay back, try to go the other way. He's done that so well the last month or so. Unfortunately, Hayward had him played just right.
So Casey McGee now, last hope for Miami in the ninth. $44,706. And probably another 1,000 to 1,500 over at Ballpark Village in the restaurant, standing up on the railing outside of the brew house. There are even bleachers on top of Ballpark Village, the AT&T rooftop up there. Cishek misses away. It's 2-1. McGee got the start last night, was 1 for 3.
Boy, red orange in a sea of red.
That one's foul. And you can see the approach both of McGee and of Echeverria when they get that fastball that Cishek is so good at bringing back to the outside part of the plate. Behind first, Reynolds. John Lackey goes 8 1/3 and picks up win number 10. And the Cardinals make it 2 in a row at Miami's expense. 6-2. St. Louis beats the Marlins. Marlins Live is coming up.